Today I want to talk to you about everything that doesn't warrant its own video, either because it's just what I've been doing in Guild Wars 2, like grinding out legendaries, or because it's not about Guild Wars 2, and thus no one will click it anyway. It's also a great opportunity to give you some channel updates, and as always, there are timestamps down below, so if you are only interested in, let's say, Guild Wars 2, you can easily find it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Master of None here. April was a weird month. It started out with me not actually wanting to play a lot of games at all, and ended up with me wanting to play everything. It's also been a while since I've played this much Guild Wars, but more on that later. Let's start with World of Warcraft. I've had this strong urge to jump back into WoW because I was watching a lot of the World First race that was going on, with the new raid that was released. On top of that, an expansion announcement was around the corner, and I was thinking about all the things that would get me hyped up about it. I've mentioned it previously, but I really don't mind the subscription fee in general. But it does have this effect that I think twice before jumping back into a game. I even downloaded it and played 2 different characters for 2 hours to reach level 20. That's where the free trial stops. It's really not enough to get you wanting to spend money on it, since it's not enough time to hook you, so I ultimately didn't. Then came the expansion announcement with probably the best marketing campaign for Guild Wars 2 ever.
And we're talking about something new called dragon riding.
And as the players are honing their dragon riding skills, they're going to get to see all new animations that go along with the different look and feel of the drakes.
You've probably seen people talk about it 100 times already, so I won't go into details, but basically Blizzard took the Griffon, fused it with the Sky Scale, and added it as a new expansion feature. I'm actually very excited to use it. Guild Wars 2 mounts are the one thing that I wish I could take with me to all the other MMOs that I play. So I'm super happy for any MMO that takes inspiration from it. What threw me off personally was just how close all the animations are. It literally looks like you ordered Guild Wars 2 Griffon animations from Wish or AliExpress, and that's what you got. Ironically, I don't think I've seen the internet talk about Guild Wars 2 this much ever since the launch of the game, so honestly, it's a win-win for everybody. I'm curious to actually use the Griffonscale in WoW. As for the Dragonflight expansion itself, I like what I saw, but nothing really blew me away. The hype for me will come when they start talking more in details about talent trees, class changes, Mythic Plus, and of course more details about the new Evoker class. From what they showed so far, it didn't really have the wow factor in terms of theme and animations. Part of it is definitely the really off-looking dragon model. I also wish Evokers could be a tank, since tanking as a dragon would actually excite me. Either way, I'm sure I will have a great time at launch, I always do. As for jumping back into WoW right now, I think I'll wait at least for the last patch, even though I'm itching for some instance 5-man content. I don't really feel like grinding out the exact same loot for the 3rd time, since I mainly like to play Mythic Plus, and they are still the same dungeons for the most part, which I have played 100 times at this point already. Talking about repeating the same thing over and over again, I had stopped playing Lost Ark ever since making that video, explaining why I don't think it's a quote-unquote main game for me. However, the 21st of April, Smilegate and Amazon Game Studios released the Glavier class, which I had hoped to play as a main back when the game originally launched in the West. So I downloaded the patch and started playing again. It has been quite fun to play something new, and having that break made the dailies not feel like a chore anymore. The same issues that I have with the game are obviously still there, and they were noticeable. After reaching level 50 I could play the new class for like half an hour, but then I was done with my Chaos Rift and Guardian Raids dailies. Not much else to do after that, so I logged off. I'm not planning on grinding out dailies on every class multiple times a day, so for now I just play occasionally, slowly progressing my new character. Moving on to Guild Wars 2. As mentioned at the start of the video, I didn't play a lot at all at the beginning of the month. The reason for this was I just hadn't set a new goal yet for myself. I was working on the Super Adventure Box yearly achievement that gives you 50 achievement points. However, after a few days of doing dailies, I checked the achievement and saw that I would have to go through all the levels in tribulation mode as well to actually complete it, which I had absolutely no interest in doing. Other than that, I was just doing weekly End of Dragon strikes, trying out different DPS builds like Virtuoso, Harbinger and Vindicator. Then the damage meter arc DPS started to make my game crash constantly, which also meant I lost interest in doing strikes on DPS classes. It's funny how it was such a hot debate when the meters first came into the game, but nowadays it's the only thing that makes playing DPS actually fun for me. Especially talking about normal mode strikes where completing it is a given and the rewards are pretty trash. So the only perceptible form of progression as a DPS is doing better DPS. And without the meter, I have no idea how good or bad I'm doing. So yeah, I reduced my playtime drastically and instead turned on my PlayStation 5 for the first time in months and loaded up Ghosts of Tsushima. I recently rewatched The Last Samurai, which was probably the reason why I had to think about this game again, and my god, it always blows me away how absolutely stunning this game looks. Sadly, I never finished it because I got burned out by the huge open world checklist, freeing Mongol camp after Mongol camp. Jumping back into a single player game is not something I do very often. I usually either play it in one go or drop out somewhere in the middle, only to never load it back up again. One of the reasons is, single player games have a very different difficulty progression curve, and going back in when you're already in the later half of the game, having forgotten all the combos, weapons and skills you've unlocked, you get absolutely slaughtered. Luckily, Ghosts has a difficulty setting, so I put that down while I was getting reacclimated to the game. I didn't make it super far though, since one Sunday I decided to fill an open raiding spot for the guild in Wing 5 to hopefully kill Dhuum. We spent quite a while in there, but on the last pull of the night, after many last pulls of the night, we managed to finally beat it. Progressing on a boss that I've never killed before, experiencing content that is new to me, rekindled my desire to spend all my gaming time in Guild Wars 2, and it marked the turning point of this month. So I set myself a few new goals like finishing Chuka and Champuat, and also finally completing the collection for the Turtle Mount. Of course, we also got the first episode of Season 1 Remastered, and like I mentioned, it wasn't something I was excited about since I've already played and experienced it when it was current. However, I think it's hugely important for the health for the game to fill that giant gap of story, so I'm happy for that, especially with the targeted Steam release coming up at some point. I do have to say that I was positively surprised. The whole thing feels a little outdated, but not as much as I thought it would. It doesn't feel like a core story, for example. I also love going back through the full-fledged Molten facility, not the pieced up version we have in Fractals. This used to be a dungeon back in the day, and I loved farming it for, I believe it was a jetpack backpack. They changed it to a story instance now, which I think makes sense. Oh, and I also finally reached 30,000 achievement points as well, so that's been awesome. For what's been happening on the channel, I've started a little PvP series where I play the new elite specs for the very first time and only for 3 games, pitching them against each other in a fun little tournament. You'll see how I approach playing a new build, struggle, and give my first impressions on the spec. I'm still figuring out how I want the ratio of montage and commentary to be, and just the pacing of the videos in general. If you're remotely interested in it, I recommend starting with the second video and then going back to the first one. The interest in it seems pretty low though, so I might not continue it, or maybe drastically shorten the series because it just takes way too long to produce. I guess it's the theme of the channel, me trying to come up with new creative videos, see how it goes, and if people like it, I'll continue making them. This channel really is my creative outlet and at the moment, purely a very time-intensive hobby for me. On the note of trying out new series, I've also released a second Guild Wars 1 video. It's been on my mind for a while to do like an Ironman type series, and I'm curious if anyone wants to see more. It's not really a let's play since everything is actually scripted and written after I played through the sections, so I'd say it's much closer to the Return to Guild Wars 2 series. My hope is to at some point find something that plenty of people enjoy watching and I enjoy making. I don't want to make guides every week, even though I know that they will get views. I want to make videos that tell stories, entertain and maybe educate at the same time. The name of the game is now finding things that people actually want to watch as well. So the search continues. That's it for now. That's the month of April. Lots of Guild Wars 2 and a couple of other things. How was your month? What have you been up to? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you've made it this far, you already know you're a champion. Thank you for watching and hope to see you in the next one.